Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you are watching this. To those of you who know me through my work with Fact Fiend, you would know that occasionally we have to make these ridiculous images based on things that Karl has said in the videos. This week is no different. Now, the Fact Fiend upload schedule is currently months in advance, so I'll likely be uploading this before the video in which it featured. Which means that, as is the way with most of the spoiler images we put out, well, we quote them as spoilers, but we just release an image early so that people get a feel of what might be coming up in a future episode. As with that, I'm not going to talk about why I'm doing any of this. All you get is the process of making it, so you can figure out for yourselves what the hell is going on. Also, I'm going to try and talk a bit more about the process of doing the photoshopping, because most of the time when I edit these videos, I just keep in sort of the funny bits, the bits where it looks stupid, but I think some people might be interested in the way it's made. And I'm in no way a Photoshop expert. I've basically learned everything I learned years ago and have sort of stuck with these old techniques, and recently I've been trying to learn a few more. So if you see me doing something and it's not the optimum way of doing it, stick it in the comments. Let me know what I could do better. And if I like the technique, if it seems to be one that I'm going to use a lot, I'll give you a shout out in the next video. But yeah, I've rambled on enough now. Let's get on with the Photoshop. So we're starting with a llama. Just a llama. It's definitely a llama, isn't it? It's not an alpaca. They're both very similar. I think it's a llama. It's got a longer face and it's got pointy ears. That makes it a llama, right? First thing I need to do is add this. The headpiece from the Royal Guard. I fucking hate cutting out this kind of edge. It's so annoying, and I always get it wrong. So I'm going to use a layer mask just in case I fuck it up, and let's just do like a soft eraser just to sort of... There's better ways of doing this. The reason I use a soft eraser like this, well, it's a soft brush and a layer mask. It's not actually erasing it, but it sort of gives that feathered hair like it gives that fluffy edge without actually having to cut around everything individually. You can see there, like, because it makes the edges transparent, so they're still existing there. So it's not perfect, and on a higher resolution image it wouldn't work very well, but for this particular instance it's fine. There it is, Alt. So you can actually see your layer mask and what you've done if you press Alt and click the mask. So it allows you to sort of clean up those edges and the bits that you would have otherwise left. So yeah, I'm just sort of leaving this half blurred edge here, because even though on here it looks kind of naff, on the actual picture it looks like the edge is soft. So I think if I alt click again, it resets to where it was. There's a chance I'm going to have to take this band off. Oh shit. Take this band off and move it somewhere else, because obviously the llama's head is different to the guy's head. Yeah, so that band is not in a good place for this. My snack of choice today for this particular Photoshop is grapes. And I'm not dipping them in cola. Fucking sick of this, right? Okay, going off on one slightly. In a previous video, I, as like a gag bit, I was eating grapes and I was drinking Coke. So I put a grape in my mouth and then I drank the Coke through the grape, and I was like, oh yeah, mixing the flavours, oh it's so funny. My friends won't shut the fuck up about it. So if any of you are watching, I know that you occasionally tune in, if you're watching, I'm making it worse. I'm gonna stop. Alright, eat more grape. Yeah, no. Apparently people don't let things go. I'm gonna do an old technique here, where you're about too much and then you go backwards. Oopsie. This is something I quite like to do. So it's easier to add to an edge than to take back to an edge, if that makes sense. It's easier to go from the outside in from the inside out, because from the outside in you know where you're stopping. So if you're ever doing something like this, it's fiddly, and you need to sort of define an edge, you always want to rub away some of the existing one first and then bring it back using a layer mask. As anyone who's watched Fact Fiend videos before, or seen me do a Fact Fiend Photoshop before, these things never need to look absolutely flawless. It's more the creation of the concept, and like, yeah, it's just piecing things together rather than it looking like it's like a meme. Memes are never like, people don't put that much effort into making something look funny. It needs to exist in the way it's been described. So like these edges here, I'm not going to put loads of effort into properly seating it, but I've got a bit of personal pride, so I usually put a bit more time in than I would necessarily need to. When I found out you could just right click and change the brush by doing that, you know, it changed my world. How's that? Does that work? See, the head just looks one-sided now because you can't see the other ear. Where is the other ear? You know what? That's probably the closest I'm going to get without putting too much time in. Let's just put a little bit of darkness beneath it so that it looks like it's seated on the head. So the way I normally do this, there's definitely better ways of doing this, I know it, but the way that I've always done this is you get a feathered brush, you paint it on, like the shadowy area you want, and then you drop the opacity down, so you basically cast like a mini shadow. And if you want the edges to be softer, you throw on a Gaussian blur up to the amount you want, kind of like that. And then also, if something is sat as close to this as it is here, it's literally touching the head, you want a slightly harder one, and you want to define the actual edge. What I always find with these kind of projects is you just do little touches over and over again until your thing looks right. I tweak things constantly just to try and make them look correct. But there we are. So it's got the thing on its head. The last thing you do with things like this is brightness and color correction. So a lot of the time with the Fact Fiend ones, we don't need to do this because, like, in principle, this is there. But as you can see, if you try and match various things like the brightness of this to the scene a little bit more, it fits in better. And the most important thing when it comes to combining elements together, I think, second most important is colour, obviously. First is lighting. If you don't have the lighting matching, it will never look right. So you have to try and find somewhere in the scene where you can tell what direction the light's coming from. This one's not particularly easy because it looks like it's very even light. It's probably an overcast day. That's fine. It looks like it's there enough. That was element number 1. So, llama with Royal Guard hat. Next element, boots. Boots. Not going to give context for where these are from because spoilers. First of all, you need to cut them out. So, layer mask, black brush, generally a hard edge for this because it's hard, but not too hard because things never have completely hard edges, especially when the image is lower resolution. You want to soften that a little bit. There's other ways of doing this. There's the polygonal lasso or the well, I mean, there's various selection tools. Magnetic lasso works. Quick selection could probably get the blacks out of this, the dark areas here. But this is my preferred method because I actually just find it quite therapeutic just to brush. It's the kind of thing where I like, if I'm doing this without recording, I'll just do this in the background. It's quite fun. Hope people are appreciating this little bit of extra explanation. Like I said, I don't normally do this with this much detail. I just sort of do things and show the final result. So if people enjoy this kind of video where I go into a lot more detail about what I'm actually doing, let me know, because then I'll make more of them like this. Okay, now that all 4 of these have been cut out, the next step is to make them fit into the scene a little bit more. What I would normally do here for a quick job is, once again, a feather, and you just rub out the edge, like so. Yes, there are other better ways of doing this as well. This just sort of gives the illusion that it's being covered by some of the grass. Especially with this image not being the highest resolution altogether, you get away with a lot of this as well. If you think about it, this image is never going to be viewed higher than, say, I guess like 900 pixels high, because this goes in the background of a Fact Fiend video, and that video itself is HD 1920 by 1080. So the height of this image is never going to exceed 1080. Yeah, that's not too bad. As you can see, it gives that like faint illusion that it stood in the grass, and that's all you need for this picture. However, what I do need to do is get rid of the llama's legs behind, because these things are meant to be in the shoes, and you can see them behind the actual picture. So the easiest way to do this, this is a destructive method, by the way, so if anyone is interested in doing non-destructive editing so that you don't like mess up any of the pictures, you can always go back and change things, then I can do that now. You would duplicate this layer at least. I think there are ways of, I think you would clone onto a new layer. I think that's what you do in this situation. So you would take the clone stamp from this one, but then you would clone onto this one. So this way you can still turn it off. Yep, so either of those ways work. I also think there's a way to change, here we are, I was just about to say, there's a way to change the clone stamp so that you can select the layer, like all layers. So when you take the clone, it takes it from the entire stack. So instead of me jumping between layers there, I could have just turned this onto current and below or all layers and just taken the sampling from the other layers directly rather than having to switch. That made sense in my head. The thing is, I never like to big myself up when it comes to my abilities to use this, but now that I'm sort of talking out loud, I actually do know a lot of these things. I just don't do them, which is, I need to get into better habits, because it would increase my workflow, make it so much more efficient if I did all this stuff. Oh, I completely forgot. I forgot to put this thing on. Oh, I bet someone's shouting at me. How's that? Hey, not too bad. That works. Don't see any problem with that. Just something really simple. I think that works. That's fine. That covers what I need to do. And because I've done this now, I can also turn this off. Because something I also forgot to do is save out the first picture. Because the Fact Fiend images, they always come in image by image as the things are described. So you have llama, then you have llama in half. So first thing I noticed about these is they're way too dark. Like, these came from a picture that was extremely dark and shadowy. I always feel like increasing this slightly, just to sort of make it so that the darkest areas of here match the darkest areas of elsewhere in the scene. I think I'm happy with that. Like, I don't want to tweak these too much. I could probably colour correct them slightly, but as they stand, they actually don't look that bad. So I'm going to move on to the next element. This one might actually be a bit of an issue now, because I've covered up one of the ears. So this is a phone wire. It's not anything special, but it needs to come down from the ear, because it needs to, I'm trying to get it to emulate like the spy earpieces that you get. Oh, before I do that, save the image out. Don't forget that. Okay, where was I? Right, yes, I need to make this emulate spy earpieces. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is make it super obvious and have it coming from where the ear would be. So like, yeah, something like this. So it'll tuck around that outside there and tuck in there, and hopefully, because it's so big, people will realize what it is. I mean, it sort of works and sort of doesn't. I'm gonna liquefy. Nope. Before I do that, I'm gonna apply the layer mask so that the image is now cut out, and now I'm gonna liquefy it. And I'm gonna try and get a better shape out of this, because at the moment it's just sort of, yeah, it's crap. So I use liquefy a lot in these Photoshops because you have to make elements fit where the ordinary would not. Like things like when you put in clothing onto another person, you need to stretch it out or bring it in to fit the person's body shape. Yeah, see, the fact that you can't see its ear is going to hinder this one from looking particularly great. The thing is, though, it is said out loud when it appears, so people can put two and two together when it's said, this is this thing, and then you see that thing. I think that's fine. It's not as good as I want it to look. It's just you can't see the ear, so people just have to use the context of what they've been told to know what that is. It's one of the hazards of building these images mentally through the video, is occasionally elements don't fit, and you have to miss some out. There've been Photoshops in the past where there've been one or two elements and they've been cut because they wouldn't fit in the picture. I think there was one image where Karl described the person having, I think, Piccolo's shoulder plates, then a certain type of cape, and then a jetpack. And I think I removed the jetpack because once you already had the shoulder plates and the cape, the jetpack on top wouldn't have really worked unless you'd removed huge chunks of what was already there. In this case, I think that fits the purpose. You know what that is. So, next step. Okay, what was next? Oh god, okay, this. Speaking of Dragon Ball. So it's going to come out of maybe under here and go over the eye. Yep, a tiny bit of white left. But so this needs to go over the eye. Preferably a little bit away, because I think the way this works is it appears in front of your eye. So, like that. This is looking like quite a difficult element to add, because the angle of it's slightly wrong. I think I could probably get away with a liquefy here, just to straighten it out. I think that looks a bit better. I think that's coming together. Let's adjust the colour of this, because it's it's a product. It's extremely sharp in the way it's been photographed. Something I haven't done yet, colour balance. I really enjoy using colour balance for fixing my colours. I know other people use the colours in curves and in levels, but I quite like this because you can sort of tweak things and use your eye to figure out where you're going. What I always do is I swing it left and right and then centre it where I think it should fit. So what I've done here, obviously, this is very much where it was, but pushing some reds, pushing some yellows, because the colour in this, a lot of this, is those kind of tones. But like, I don't actively know which direction I'm going in a lot with these. I just wiggle them until they look right. There we go, and that's fine. Okay, save the next one. I keep looking over here because my camera's there, but my recording software's here, which means my face is there. So I keep looking over at my own face instead of the camera. Hopefully I'll get used to it. Okay, so that's the next element in. What came? Oh god, the next one. So the next one's the difficult one. This is the one that I was struggling to find a way to do it. So this armor needs to go on the llama. The reason I've taken it in 4 parts is because I think that's how I'm going to have to do it. So this is where the real difficulties come in with these kind of photoshops. It's because it just gets complicated to try and fit. I mean, I don't need to explain this. I'm putting human armor on a llama, so armor on a llama. I was just seeing for the title of this. It's called the guard llama, but this could easily be a guard or armor llama. So I need to duplicate this. So what I can do is each layer I can rub out where the llama's leg is there, so it looks like it's coming out of the armor. Even though the angle, this angle wouldn't have that coming out. I need it straight in there. Oh no! It's not great, but it's probably the best I'm gonna get if I'm warping it this much. It's fine. Right, okay, that's part of the armor. How do I even do this? I guess that could be the back. As long as I get the aesthetic of the armor, I think I could probably get away with it not being in the right place. What about this bit? Can I think of a logical way to put this bit on? Oh, these are the problems we encounter. Okay, that piece could go on the back there. So let's just do that first. Let's just do the bits we can figure out and then come back to the rest later. Okay, that's sort of a piece of it. So this should ideally go like that because it's the breastplate. I need to connect this up with that, and then I could possibly put a belt there, and then and use the belt to find the edge of this here. I mean, I'm not really seeing any other way of doing this. It's just, yeah. I mean, I could always go and try and find a different example of the same armor and just see, but it's not an easy piece of armor to find pictures of, and there's several variants of it as well. Okay, it's kind of got a breastplate on. That's a start. Oh, no, I'm looking at it. I'm not even sure if this is the right fucking armor. Oh, I'm gonna restart with this bit, I think. So this is the Genji armor from Final Fantasy. This is the one I'm supposed to be working with. All the pictures of it are tiny or drawings. The one I was using was a variant from a later game, 14 I think it is. But they seem to have different types of armor. Oh my god, I've only just realised I haven't even got my lights on. I'm supposed to have lights on so that my image is bright. There we go. Nice and bright now. However, I'm going to pause for a sec and I'm going to try and figure out what I'm going to do with this armor and then I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. It's been over an hour since I stopped recording, and since then I've been trying to figure out exactly how to make this armor work. And in the end, I went with using huge pieces of various different armors to make this. These are different pieces of different Genji armors that I found online. I'm not 100% sure if they're the exact ones or the exact one that Karl was referencing when he said it, but I hope it's representative enough that it fits the intention. Fingers crossed, I suppose. Okay, let me save this out. Right, there is one more element for this one, and then it's finished. And it's super simple compared to what I just did. I have to put on the Franklin badge. Should just be able to do this. Yep. Easy enough. And then we need to find a nice place for it to go. Breastplate probably works best. Oh god, oh no. I'll have to put it on the side, otherwise I've got to flip it. So I guess just pin to here. And here's another method for doing a shadow. If you duplicate the layer, make the one below it completely dark, and then blur that, you've got the shadow. I think we're done. Yes, this went places, obviously. They always do. So there you have it, a Fact Fiend Photoshop for an upcoming Fact Fiend video. I will link the video eventually, I think, in the description once that one actually comes out, so people can go and watch the patter, but here it is. Look forward to seeing this in a future video. This masterpiece. So yeah, throw a like on the video if you enjoy watching that, and yeah, as I said, let me know if you like the more long form explanations of the way that things are done, because I don't mind talking out loud as I'm doing things, it's just I always wonder whether or not the people find them boring. And subscribe if you want to see more of these, or go check the back catalogue. There's a couple of other Fact Fiend ones in there, but there's also all the ones I've done with Nisha, and then the various other just sort of random Photoshops I've done. I'm thinking of doing a few more serious ones soon, where I'm actually trying to create something good rather than just messing about. But we'll see if I find time to do those. And yeah, the most important thing with an early channel is getting more viewers in. So if you enjoy this, or if you think someone else would enjoy this, send it to them, share it. If you got any fans of Fact Fiend, send it to them as well. And as always, thank you for watching. Do you have anything to add? Yeah, you heard it here first.